Cool, I think we are live. So everyone who's watching, thank you for being here with us today. The MXL team is actually very pleased to welcome back especially our old-time supporters, our portfolio startups, mentors, investors, obviously also all our business partners. Those of you that have been following our path constantly over the past 5 years and made this program to what it is now. It's the go-to platform for hospitality and retail tech, right? So today marks our 8th demo day and also our very first digital excellence forum, which actually means compared to a normal demo day, this one is targeted to uncover funding and new business development opportunities for all the startups that already successfully piloted their solutions with Metro or actually with Metro partners. So in addition, we are also offering valuable content from our speakers around scaling, internationalization, and also trending investment topics over the next 2 days. So this day is targeted towards business development. Tomorrow is more targeted towards funding and investments. So the startup pitches for the BizDev opportunities will start at 2:45. We'll have 8 companies pitching. Again, our portfolio companies who are ready to scale into various countries, but also startups that have been successfully match-made, offering solutions that fulfill an eminent need for actually the new normal now. The pitches are also followed by a fireside chat with 2 startups, Lisa, Cecil, that successfully expanded from the US to Europe and vice versa, even during COVID. So there is a lot to learn for all our companies that joined today. The MXL events are also known for the great after-show network parties, right? So there's great food involved, nice drinks, which unfortunately we can't offer now. But even in these times, we found a solution to replicate at least the most important part, which is the networking. So at 4:45, we invite the startups. So they will have the opportunity to meet and speak with our experts, to get advice around how to pilot with Metro from other startups as well as from our Metro colleagues, but also how to enable fast scaling from a product point of view, and obviously general strategic advice from the mentors that you might know over the past 5 years. But now actually it's about time to start with our first session, and I'd like to hand over to our CEO, Olaf Koch, who's the program sponsor and actually also the best program support one could wish for. And also Olaf offered to do a Q&A after his presentation. So you're also welcome to drop in your questions that Olaf will then answer. So Olaf, thanks a lot for your support, and the stage is yours.
Well, thank you, Sylvia, and welcome everyone. It's great to reconnect, and while we cannot meet each other, still, stay connected and exchange ideas, observations, and reflections in times which are without any precedence, but are also times that do not only expose us to challenges, but also open new opportunities. So today I was asked to talk about how do you create a culture for innovation within a company, and I think a good beginning for that theme is to actually introduce to you who Metro really is. Hopefully a lot of you have followed the journey Metro has gone through, but some of you might not really know, because Metro used to be a conglomerate with department stores, consumer electronics, hypermarkets, and our original business, which is wholesale. Today we are 100% wholesale. We are 100% committed to wholesale in food and non-food, but we are very much committed to our customer base, and that customer base is a precious one. It's the millions of independent entrepreneurs that run either a business in hospitality or an independent grocery. Those are the 2 main target groups that we are serving. And yes, we want to give them access to great product, great quality of product, very tailor-made ranges, but we want to be there to actually make a difference to the way they work. We want to be their partner of choice. We want to be the champion for independent business. And that means that we want to make a contribution to their success. That is the purpose of Metro. In today's world, in the year 2020, we are proud about the purpose Metro has in its business model, which is to support people like the one you see on those charts that will follow. And that only works in a company that is absolutely committed to humility and always reflecting that there's always something in addition that we can learn. And we'll never stop in trying to understand more about what our customers need, what they will need tomorrow, what kind of challenges will they be exposed to. And that is only possible if you work with data, and we'll come back to that theme of working with data is, of course, a very powerful approach, but you also need the human part of it. These people will not share their concerns and their thoughts with you if they don't trust in you. And that's why these personal relationships and that trust base that we establish throughout 25 countries is kind of the precondition for every success. How do you earn trust? Well, you only earn trust if you go the extra mile. You know that from your private life, you know that from your business life. In times of need, that's when you need to go one step further and actually give something to them. And don't expect something in return right away, but build something that is more lasting than just that individual transaction that you are about to close in the case of selling them products. We want not just to sell products, we want to build business relationships. When we do that, we learned already years ago that then we are entitled to give them advice, to give them access to innovation, sometimes to inspire them, sometimes to make them aware that there are new solutions. And 5 years ago, we started to roll out academies in many of our countries. One of the most famous academies actually is in Turkey called Gastronometro. Meanwhile, it has become an iconic place for people in the hospitality sector to meet, to learn, to exchange ideas, to get inspiration. And this is exactly what we are poised to do. And there's a very simple formula for our success. When our customers win, that's when we win. That's why we say your success is our business. And this is very true for millions of customers. We are blessed with the fact that we have more than 15 million customers. One of them is Lillian. Lillian runs a pastry business in Milano, and she's one of those great customers that we're really proud to serve because, yes, she is one of those many million entrepreneurs that make this life so enjoyable because she serves great pastry, great coffee. She inspires people with the energy and the hospitality that she brings to the table. And this is exactly what we want to do as a company. We want to be there for them. And this is more than just a strategic rationale from an economic point of view. It's a long-lasting purpose that makes a contribution, of course, to the business, but actually even broader, it makes a contribution to society. Now, if you look into the split of sales that Metro represents today, roughly 50% of our sales today are in what we call HORECA, hotels, restaurants, and catering companies. And that is predominantly Western Europe and Southern Europe. Independent grocers, or we call them traders, represent roughly 22%. And here the largest footprint we have in Central Eastern Europe and in Asia. And then, of course, we welcome also other customers, people that have a startup, people that are in tech, people that are in advisory. We also welcome them, but we consciously and honestly tell them the main focus we have is on the two first named target groups, because we are very much convinced, I'm personally very much convinced, you need to focus to be meaningful, and that's why we focus on those two groups. This is only possible when you understand that wholesale, at least, is a people business. And there is no way that you can just run it from a blueprint and a template and run it from the center and tell people what to do. You either empower people and engage people, or you fail. And we've seen that in the past where we were failing and where we were losing market share. And our strongest competitors most often were local heroes with a lot of passion in a given country, in a given region, or in a given city. And they would outperform Metro because we were way too limited in the authority we would give to people. Now, in the last couple of years, we have been empowering our people in the countries, in the regions, in the cities, in the stores. And we shared with them our conviction that we only can make this company bigger and more successful if we believe in interdependency. And in interdependency, every single one, is it an associate on the shop floor? Is it a salesperson in the sales force? Is it a manager on a local account or an executive in the center? It doesn't matter. We only can succeed if we collaborate. And what you can see on the left side on the chart is the engagement score. Since 2011, we are measuring how much are the people engaged with the company. How much do they believe in the purpose, and how much they can identify themselves with the strategy and the approach that we have chosen. And as you can see, in 2011, we were at a low point at 60. Today we're at 76, and that makes us one of the leading companies. Actually, from the numbers I've seen, it makes us the leader in regard of engagement of workforce. This goes hand in hand with customer satisfaction. You cannot inspire customers and make them happy if your workforce is not happy. And we see not a linear correlation, we see an exponential correlation. We are collecting net promoter scores now in 25 countries, and we have a consecutive improvement of NPS scores throughout the last 2.5 years. And finally, all of this needs to turn into economics, and those are our value creation plans that we have installed 5 years ago in 2015. And as you see, over 6 years, we generated consecutive like-for-like growth. Prior to the COVID-19 outbreak, actually, we had the highest like-for-like in 10 years, above 3%. Ever since we have seen COVID-19 breaking out, we still continue to gain market shares because markets are down double-digit, and apparently we are doing way better with the fourth quarter from July to September, where we almost broke even with previous year levels in sales. Now, moving from people to people. This is an illustration of togetherness. This is an iconic initiative which we launched in April, connecting the thousands of people, the 100,000 of people that work at Metro, in reaching out their hands to each other, no matter where they have been, in what country, in what city, in what place. And it has become a manifestation of togetherness. And that's why I'm personally so convinced that Metro is super well positioned for the future, no matter what kind of additional challenges COVID-19 might impose on the company. And again, moving from people to people, those are the brilliant people that we are blessed to serve. Those are people that give you, us, myself, access to this fantastic choice and the pleasure to visit this authentic taste of Spanish, Italian, Mexican, German, French, Indian, whatever kind of cuisine. But it's not only the food, it is the atmospheres, the soul. It's this thing that makes our life so valuable and so rich. And that's why we continue to say, yeah, we are honest, we are blessed, and we are humble to serve them and to contribute to their success. Now, it's very true that for those customers, it has been difficult prior to COVID, and actually with COVID, it has become even more difficult. And that has to do with competition. There are modern chains trying to grab market share from those individuals. But luckily enough, in continental Europe, more than 80% of hospitality business is still run by independent people. You see cost increases everywhere, leases going up, labor is becoming more expensive. Actually, it's very difficult to get good people to work with you and your business. The law has become much more strict, not only on the financial side, but also on all the regulations that you need to comply with. And you have consumers that are changing in an accelerating fashion. Specifically, if you look at millennials or Generation Z, these people, you are part of that, will not find a restaurant if they are not online. You will not consider them if they don't get good ratings. You will only potentially be inspired if they actually have a great presence on Instagram and they continue to post what they are doing. Those changes are relevant to these customers, and they are sometimes overwhelmed with all of this that they cannot understand, but they need to deal with. The working environment in those businesses is hard. It's often 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, and then it doesn't look like you get the best financial return if you are not one of those lucky guys that has this fantastic hotspot where everything goes by itself. That means that we as Metro, we have become aware of this in the implementation of our strategy by asking ourselves, what else do we need to do on top of the product and the distribution channels, the stores and the delivery? What else do we need to consider to really become that unique partner for you as a restaurateur or for you as a grocer that not only wants to survive, but wants to succeed? And in that context, we analyzed what is the total spend of a restaurant. And shame on us, until 3 years ago, we didn't know. But it's very visible here. Only 1/3 of the spend of a restaurant is on goods, predominantly food and some non-food. Roughly another third is on people, it's staff. And then you see utilities, leases, and all the rest of it. And quite frankly, we didn't really consider whether we should play a role in those buckets, because as a wholesale company, your origin is buying goods and selling goods. But in the year 2020 and the years to come, that simply isn't good enough. And that's why we started a strategy a few years ago where we looked into every single bucket and trying to understand, how can we help you to reduce your cost? How can we improve efficiency back of the house, front of the house? How can we help you to be more productive and therefore have less dependency on labor costs, which is so difficult? How can we help you on admin? How can we help you almost anything that is possible to make your business more successful? Now, does that mean that Metro is on its way to become the next conglomerate, but now with all kinds of other services left and right? No. We came to the conclusion that we cannot do this alone. So this question here is rhetorical. We cannot do this alone. And that's why already years ago, and some of you might remember this because I showed those charts actually in 2016 at the demo day, we started to look into the space of new ideas. We reached out to people with a very simple question initially, and that was, in 2016, how did digital really look like for a restaurant, for a HORECA business? And the truth was, it looked like this. There was barely valuable stuff out there. Yes, there was stuff out there making lots of promises and quite often not keeping them, but actually adding some more cost on commission fees that those guys needed to pay. We were not interested in that stuff. We asked the question, are there ideas to help an entrepreneur in HORECA? And luckily enough, we identified quite a few already with the first accelerator, but we wanted to understand, is there more? Is this something that has potential? And yes, luckily enough, also there, already with the first accelerator, we got hundreds of applications, and we were quite amazed about the ideas that were brought to the table. But of course, always the question that you need to answer is that idea feasible? Does it really create value for customers? And if I remember well from the first accelerator, already at that time, many of those could prove immediate value. And some of them, until now, have continued on an unstoppable rise. And Floatify is one I would like to mention, because Floatify is an alumni from the very first accelerator program, a helping tool to do all your HACCP documentation and all the hygiene documentation, which is so important in times of COVID-19, but all of that not done with paper, but done digitally. For me, it looked like, I don't know whether this can fly. And guess what? It flies, and it will fly further now that the whole industry is in need for such a solution. But then the question was, okay, now we have a couple of dozen ideas, and some of them already proving to be valuable for customers. Is it feasible to think about this as something that could become an ecosystem? And is that something where we as Metro can make a contribution by partnering up with selected companies? And the answer is very simple. It's a yes, because we bring stuff to the table that young companies cannot bring to the table, which is we have the sector expertise, we have the customer access, we have a brand that is trusted, and therefore for us to open a door is a million times simpler than for a new incumbent trying to convince a restaurateur just to listen in for a couple of minutes, because typically they would not listen in. So the answer has been a strong yes. And ever since, you know that the accelerator program has been growing and growing and growing and reinventing itself, specifically also in times of COVID-19 moving into digital. And I'm so pleased and honestly proud about what the team has achieved. And if you look into the various value adds that the MXL program can bring to the table, from discovery of those points that Metro wants to address, that they can bring back to the audience and reach out to you guys, considering whether applications that you have in mind might make sense. Then to find out pilot applications, to do the validation and the proof of concept, and eventually find a commercial deal to scale up or even to invest if that is of benefit for both parties, if that has a mutual benefit. So to remind you, we did believe in this to be a sizable opportunity. And as we did believe in that, we moved on in expanding the business. We call that Wholesale 360. And you will find more of this when you do your research online about what Metro is all about these days. So we provide advisory. We have consultants in the field that will help you to open your restaurant, to rethink your restaurant, to innovate your restaurant. We have digital tools that will boost your productivity, and I'll come back to that in a deep dive in a couple of minutes. We launched Metro Markets in September 2019. We are now offering 500,000 of SKUs. Just to compare that with a store, and this is predominantly non-food, can only offer 20,000 SKUs. Metro Markets will be the biggest platform for HORECA non-food products sold online. And Philip Lohme, the CEO of Metro Markets, has launched this in record time and scaled it up in record time. You see Metro Financial Services, which is a new product that we bring to the market in Germany, where we will help you to bridge financing need together with partners in the financial services industry. We rolled out a partnership on equipment. Why would you do that? Well, I mentioned that labor is such a scarce resource these days. If you need to think to improve productivity, you will need to invest into equipment. And Pentagast is our partner of choice that we have teamed up with in Germany, and more partnerships are to come across Europe. And then finally, product. Yeah, well, product is what we've done since 1964. But this product that you see on the top, convenience, is tailor-made product that you can implement and serve with equipment that I just referred to with Pentagast, that will boost your productivity by 30, 40% in the kitchen. So all of this is kind of a full circle approach that we have initiated, and that has created lots of creativity throughout the whole group, and is, from my point of view, the core DNA of Metro's way into the future. Now look into Hospitality Digital. Hospitality Digital is permanently seeking new ways on how to support a restaurant owner, a cafe owner, a bistro owner, on how to improve the business. What we want to do is we want to empower those independent guys with the same means and tools that the chained food service industry is using already since more than 10 years. We provide those tools, and as such, we also enable an even stronger relationship between Metro and those customers. And you see the many questions that Hospitality Digital is addressing. And we do that, of course, backed on data. We rolled out some basic tools and third-party tools already 3 years ago. And we measured the benefit, the financial benefit, as much as the productivity benefit. And the first things we did were very simple, but sometimes for them mind-boggling and actually very demanding, like rolling out a free website and just become visible online and in social media. Rolling out a reservation tool, which is not charging you a fee for the basic reservation function. And there are many more tools that we rolled out in the meantime. On the right side, you see the many factual improvements that we can bring to the table. And this is the reason why Hospitality Digital over the course of the last 2.5 years has become the leading digital platform for the hospitality industry. Today, actually this number already is outdated, we have more than 200,000 accounts, digital accounts that are enrolled with Hospitality Digital. We are offering our tools in 16 countries, and we have 18 different tools already. We have a very high Net Promoter Score, and as you can see, also the utilization of our tools is growing while we speak. Now, this is based on a very strong platform that Metro brings to the table. We have established relationship with small and medium-sized enterprises for decades. We do this in 25 countries. As I mentioned before, we have 60 million registered customers. And we're serving through 2 channels, 650 stores and food service distribution. Plus, let's not forget, we have more than 7,000 Salesforce people out there in the field every day. And we turned that into a platform on the digital side. It's called Dish, and you can do your own homework and look at Dish. Dish, meanwhile, is the platform through which we offer our tools, but not only our tools, but also best practices and online learning. And it's becoming the community for the digital space for restaurateurs, but also for innovators. So while we are talking about this, I just actually came back from a board meeting with Hospitality Digital. These guys are always thinking ahead. They have the next top 5 things in the pipeline that are about to be rolled out in the first half of 2021. And that's why I'm so convinced that Metro, even after my tenure, which will end by the end of this month, after 9 years as CEO, I'm totally convinced that the DNA of Metro on innovation is very, very strong and very resilient. And it starts, of course, with the brand Metro itself. And as I mentioned before, with an accelerator program, MXL, that is now very experienced, has a lot of learnings that we have taken since 2015, and is applying them in a modernized fashion every single time when we launch a new program. And that, I think, has been proven in 2020 during the time of COVID-19 restrictions. We are also launching Metro Digital. This is our new internal IT platform. Essentially, this is the next evolution step of Metronome, our subsidiary that provides digital tools for Metro inside. We also have Hospitality Digital, which I referenced already, and we have Metro Markets. You should stay tuned on Metro Markets because this is going to continue to grow very fast in Germany, and we have the next country launch just around the corner. SME Services is that subsidiary that is investing into financial services, energy services, and all kinds of other value-added things that can be added. And then NX Food, which is the logical expansion of innovation into the food space. So Fabio, he's the CEO of NX Food. He's permanently looking out for new products, new food tech, like processing food in a different way or generating alternative proteins by new formulations and new ingredients, one of the fastest rising sectors right now on a global scale. And you should not be surprised if you see the launch of a next thing somewhere in the first half of 2021. That's why, going back to my opening remarks, we are a company with a very strong business. We are very much founded on the people side of business. That means the people that we are blessed to serve and the people that are excited to join into a community that is absolutely committed to provide a contribution to make other people more successful, which is good for the success of those business people, but it's also good for societies because they are enriched through the diversity of the many entrepreneurs that are out there. And this is kind of the core DNA for innovation, I'm convinced of, because only when we invite people to think out of the box, to really have disruptive ideas on how to serve customers in a different and a more meaningful way, that's when we lay the foundation for even more innovation. And with that, let me conclude, and we have a bit of time left as well to address a few questions if you like.
I'm on mute. Hi, Olaf.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
And you can see me?
No, I cannot see you, but I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So this is Serena. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm actually so excited. I have this question, which I wanted to ask you, like, it's probably the same question, but in 3 different aspects of your life. But this last slide is just so exciting about all the different things about Metro and the bigger group, and what lies ahead. And I think the first question, before I jump to the group and what everyone else has to ask you, I would want to say, what are you most excited for Metro's future?
Well, I'm most excited about the fact that we have a very strong conviction within our teams, within the people, that what we do makes a difference. And you could see that actually in this very dark period of time, end of March and April, in the first outbreak of COVID. And some organizations probably had the tendency then to paralyze and to be under a big shock. And I think here at Metro, we were exposed to the same, but it only took a very short moment in time. And people started to say, yeah, but it's now that we now need to help those guys because they are desperate. They needed to close their cafe, their restaurant. What are we doing to help them? What can we do to encourage them now to offer takeaway, to engage into meal delivery? How can we help them to apply for governmental aids? And you could see such a energetic movement throughout the whole organization. And for me, that was the strongest conviction, and is the strongest conviction, that while we move ahead, Metro is poised for success because the people at Metro make the difference, and they are very, very strong.
Very exciting. We have a question from the audience saying, after COVID, we will see restaurants open in like random locations. Have Metro done any research around that already? Around, have they picked up on certain locations, something that might look trendy, or like, things that you can look forward to, or not something that you could track yet?
I hope I get the question right. On the restart of the hospitality sector after the lockdown and how people find their locations. And actually, probably also included in the question, how many of them actually will reopen, or will many of them already have been closed down? So let me start with this phenomena in this industry, that every given year we see a lot of doors closing down. But the threshold to move into the hospitality sector is very low. That's why also the number of startups in that industry is super high. And what we are seeing right now is that a lot of people are getting ready to restart the business in the spring and summertime. And when it comes to locations, location is, of course, very key for the success of a hospitality business. We are keeping our eyes open, it's true, in every given city, to make sure that if there is a door closing down, that we encourage other people to open business. And we are launching startup services for restaurants that will help you on the top most important things that you need to consider opening a restaurant, and the 10 do nots in opening a restaurant. So the 10 reasons for failure that we share with people. So we are preparing for the relaunch of hospitality. We did it in a slightly different fashion already in May, when we had the first restart. There we did a lot of campaigning for our restaurants, also to give consumers the trust that it's a safe place to go and that they should not be worried when they visit a restaurant. And we'll do something very similar in spring, summer. At least that's already what we're planning. And then I will, of course, observe it from the outside.
Yes, I remember that specifically very well. We also spoke about this during our session in May. Just like how much you communicate. I really love that and appreciate that. Actually, someone is now, one of the questions here links into this a little bit because it's culture. They ask, how did you and how do you continue to bring cultural innovation across Metro?
Yeah, that is, I think, one of the most important questions. And I don't think that there's that one single answer to that. I think that to keep this culture vibrant and energetic, from my point of view, there are at least two things that we attempt to do right. And certainly in many cases it worked out, but probably not in all cases. And one is to keep a very strong and close proximity between all levels of the company. So people on the shop floor are valuable, and they are super valuable. Executives in the center are valuable, and they are also very valuable. But to bring those all together on a regular basis and to keep that dialogue in a very open fashion on the good things we're doing as much on the not so good things we're doing. And in a certain way, the Net Promoter Score exercise, which sounds like something that we have done because of a strategy consultant imposing that on us, it's not true. We have taken this very seriously, because Net Promoter Score kind of is a mirror that you need to look into that doesn't lie. And the criticism that you're exposed to by customers complaining about either quality of service, availability of product, and the like, puts a lot of pressure on the organization to live up to our promise, which is we want to do the best possible for our clients. And to learn that those conflicts that are created through such a system are not a negative, are not a threat, but actually are the potential to improve further, was a very difficult learning for us. And we continue to say as a management team, we need to create these conflicts, not because we like conflict and we are people that want to have infights. The opposite, the other way around. We want to have conflict to turn better. And an organization that is essentially completely depending on the people side, whether it succeeds or fails, needs to find a positive way on how to resolve conflict. And that's something that we try to enhance all the time. We have guiding principles that our new CHRO, Andrea, has actually reshaped just recently. And now you could say, well, this is another set of flyers, but it's more. The guiding principles are part of the appraisal. Those are the core beliefs on how behavior at Metro should look like. And in the half year and the full year review, 50% of the time is allocated on how have you been doing on the targets that we agreed, and 50% is spent on the question, how did you behave? How did you grow as a person? How did you invest into relationships? How are you seen by your peers, your colleagues? That is quite an investment, honestly, as well for the people inside of Metro to deal with that. But we are having a no tolerance policy on this, because we are also measuring every single quarter the engagement score, not only for the whole firm, but by department. And if your engagement score is weak, that can happen because of something happening in the circumstances around you, but it should not happen twice. And we will ask, what have you done the last time that you got the result? Did you speak up? Did you have a meeting with your people? Did you reflect on that? So I know my answer has been very long, but actually it is a very demanding challenge for every company, I think, to keep this cultural engagement high. And therefore, it's one of the most important leadership tasks of our times, I think.
Thank you. I appreciate that answer actually a lot. And it's wonderful to see that growth in that interaction score. So that's a lot to do, I'm sure, with you and the time you've been involved. Another innovation question, actually. What is the benefit of having an external and internal innovation aspect to the business? And how are you at Metro able to balance this?
Yeah, that I think is also a very, very valuable question. And companies, and I think it's almost independent of the industry, have a tendency inside of the company to believe we can identify the opportunities ourselves. We don't need the outside. We are smarter than that. We are more experienced, and people who don't know our industry might come up with not those meaningful solutions. But actually, my learning is that's not true. By definition, within a company, you have limitations. You have also a way on how to approach things that needs to control risk. And that's why some things you might not even consider because your intuitive assessment might be it's too risky. Whereas if you engage with a larger community, and that community also being exposed to different innovation influences, they might bring up thoughts that probably would never have come up within the organization. And I can say, since the start of the accelerator, this has been a catalyst for innovation. It has been a catalyst not only for teaming up with startups in selected cases, but also in actually reconsidering how are we running our business. I would dare to say this wholesale 360 approach would not have emerged without the outside-in reflection that the way to think about the hospitality business is way broader, that the world out there is way bigger, and that the role we can play is way more significant. That's why I'm a true believer. It always needs to be the right balance. You need to appreciate the insight and give them respect and acknowledgement, because if you create fear and anger within your internal organization, that also kills the outside innovation. So it is, it needs to be a fine balance.
Great stuff. Thank you.